Welcome in, everybody. We are back, as you can see. And no, this is not Todd Talk podcast. No, it's not Beast of the East. This is actually the new and improved Best of the West. And we are back, and I'm grateful to be hosting. And I got a great cast with me tonight. Uh, as you can see, my buddy Stacey from Todd Talk is here, and Corey from Believe in the Dogs, and congratulations on y'all's championship, man. Man, what a hell of a game. And we're going to dive into it. But, fellas, thank y'all for joining us tonight. And, man, I'm tired. I'm just going to say it right now. I am
Man,
tired.
I had that internal debate going. Do I just want to talk to Jake tomorrow on SEC After Dark, or why not? Let's go. I'm tired. He's probably tired. 5 a.m. came way too early for me as well.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you guys making me feel comfortable. You guys roll out the red carpet to the point where you get the Beast of the East skin going for this show. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, the victor goes to spoils. So, I mean, you deserve to have the Beast of the East logo up, even though this is Best of the West. But, Stacey, thank you for joining and being the new co-host moving forward on Best of the West, man. I'm glad you're here, and the chat is blazing like always. So, SEC historian, good evening, gentlemen. Good to have you on, Casty, my wife, my homies. So, thank y'all, and
Yeah,
keep that
Cassidy,
chat coming. But
assistant
Stacey,
producer.
yeah, Stacey, how you doing tonight, bud?
Man, I'm great, but I do want to make a little correction. You said new and improved. It is we're back, and it's kind of a new show now, but I'm not sure about the improvement part of it.
Yeah, I'm still ugly as ever, and they still see my face. So I don't know. That's not no improvement for sure. But Kevin, he did a great job. When me and him started it. Stephen got us on, and just how things are. Personal lives getting in the way, and me and Stephen's been trying to rack our brain past couple months, try to get something um, back together, and Stacey was able to finally, break free of his busy schedule. I was like, yeah, man, I'll join you guys. So, man, it's moving forward, man. I'm excited for the future of Beast of the East and Best of the West, SC Out the Dark, and the All Conference Network. I'm excited that Stacey, we took our podcast and joined the network this year. Man, it's awesome. As you can see, Stephen Willis on Locked On SEC tomorrow. So I
Yeah,
mean,
be sure to check
Log,
that out.
yeah, the Y'all Conference Network is booming, and it's like a freight train right now, fellas. So
Yeah,
And
but,
it's exciting for sure. I
mhm,
mean, there's a lot that's happening. There's a lot of moving parts, and I try to tell the people from the Tide Talk podcast that you're not just going to be seeing Tide Talk stuff. You're going to be seeing Georgia,
mhm.
Tennessee, Ole Miss. You're going to see anything and everything SEC, which is great because in this part of the country. SEC it really. I mean, I know it's cliche, it's kind of cheesy, it's kind of corny to say it just means more, but it really does. I
Absolutely.
mean, that's
Hmm.
that's that's the fact of the matter. So, and that really come to a head last night in the championship game between Alabama and Georgia. I mean, you see, without question, the two best programs in the country, battled out for 4 quarters and a great championship game and an old school championship game,
Hmm.
really with the great defensive performance from both teams. So it was a lot of fun last night, even though our team lost. But it's amazing the SEC. I want to say in the last 15 years they've won 12 of the 15
That's
championships
amazing.
overall.
It's
Uh,
ridiculous, man.
I mean that's
I
just
love it.
insane. I think Clemson's
Hmm.
won two, and Florida State's won one. I think Ohio State's won one too. So, but it's just incredible what the SEC has done, and uh, they're not. I don't see any signs of it slowing down either.
No, I don't either. And yeah, Corey. I don't know if you read that, but yeah, my
Yeah,
wife brought that up to me last night. I'm like, well, I guess you're
yeah.
gonna go ahead and
I
tell
get
them, you know.
I get that a lot. I've got kids at school that call me Kirby Smart and all that stuff. So,
Hey, that's
and
a compliment.
It is. It really is. I'll take that every day of the week. And when I coach, I wear a visor too. So I really do. And yeah, a lot of it's the haircut too.
Yeah,
I guess it's that southern guy
yeah,
haircut.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, I appreciate that, Cassidy.
Mhm.
But yeah, we were on Rave on Sports last night,
Yeah,
doing a big chat. Jake, myself, Israel, and Vinny Hardy as well, who got us all hooked up with that. So thank you, Vinny, for that. So
absolutely.
that was a lot of fun. That was lively. You talk about an in-game thread, just ebbing and flowing, man. It's give me the Georgia frat boy. Just the ebbs and flows of the game, just going through that, man. It was awesome. Uh, so
Man, yeah, we'll just jump right on into that game,
yeah,
man.
do it.
You know, my personal opinion, it's the first half, man. It was like I was telling Steve when I jumped on. It was gut punch after gut punch after gut punch on both sides, and both teams weathered it well. And
Very well.
and I mean, it was just mano on mano, and got to halftime, and Corey, I said in the chat, I said Alabama needs to weather this first series for Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We did. We got the ball moved, and I think that's when the field goal block happened, and
Mm-hmm.
then momentum kind of shifted a little bit. Then we had the shift back with the strip sack, forced fumble, and
Yeah.
and all that, and I mean just back and forth, and the fourth quarter, Georgia started, running 4 or 5 yards of carry. And I was like, man, we've got to, that's not good. And look at the outcome. So, it was a great game overall. And man, it was just an incredible night. I hate that Alabama lost, of course, but,
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited that an SEC team won and showed the world again that the SEC is the dominant conference in college football.
Yeah, I mean, just thank God that this wasn't Michigan because it would have been a bloodbath, man. But
Yeah.
honestly, it's one of those games where you're watching, you're like, man, somebody's got to lose this game, and that sucks because
Hmm.
these are far and away the two best teams in the conference, bar none. And I can't say enough good things about Alabama and just kind of where the conference is in general, and just kind of all the stuff that they had to deal with, Alabama, and all the stuff that Georgia had to deal with throughout the course of the season was ridiculous. And yet here we are. We're talking
Right.
about one of the epic national championship games between these two ball clubs. I mean, Georgia went 12-0, and they didn't have their top two receivers the entire season, Kyrus Jackson and George Pickens.
Hmm.
Alabama, they collect some injuries and they get some bad things happen. Like Brian Robinson goes down for a stretch of the season. They have some unfortunate stuff with Mechie and JMO getting the targeting penalty in the Auburn game and almost was a razor's edge away from not even being in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where you just look and it's truly like a game of inches.
Right.
And then two non-contact ACL injuries. I mean, you talk about terrible luck, man. It's just,
Hmm.
but again, and I want to ask you guys, and I want to ask you in person now, not on Twitter,
Mhm.
because I saw you guys. I saw Jake. You agreed with you echoed Stephen A. Smith, which I'm like, come on, man, it's Stephen A. Man, like he's gonna say the laziest take of all time,
Yeah,
but
I know.
but you recruit all these 5 stars for a reason, right?
Right.
And it goes back to my original point of my concerns with Bill O'Brien, uh, for y'all, and his lack of, I guess, intuitiveness or lack of proactiveness of knowing, hey, we've got these two great receivers, that's fine and dandy. We got all these 5 stars that we're not getting anywhere near enough reps for. We're gonna need,
Hmm.
this game of football. It's pretty violent, right?
Right.
You're going to need him somewhere down the line, right? Like
Yep.
Ja'Cory Brooks, like you're going to need him in a big way somewhere, right? I don't think he played enough of a factor. The Holden guy, I really like him. Number 11,
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't think he played it. I don't think he was big enough. Latu, I don't think you guys utilized him enough, and certainly not Brian Robinson. I mean, he started running well in the second half and just
Yeah.
went away from it, just abandoned it. So all of those things are questionable. Like, why did you not develop depth behind Mechie and JMO. That's on the coaches.
Yeah, you're right.
Why did
You're
you
right.
abandon the run? That's on the coaches.
Yeah.
The and that's the abandoning the run, and I'm not saying that Alabama would have scored a touchdown, the couple times they got inside the 10 if they had ran the ball. There's no way of knowing for sure, but
That first trip down there in the red zone, you probably would have.
I mean, I would have liked to find, and the same thing happened against Texas A&M, if you remember.
Yep.
3 plays at the 3-yard line, 3 straight pass plays, and on the third one, it was picked off in the end zone. I mean, just the questionable play calling by Bill O'Brien, like you said, the lack of awareness that you can't just rely on 2 guys. You have to be willing to distribute the ball to other people. And I'm not just talking about from Bryce's perspective, but because he's going to throw it to the guy who's open. But Trayshawn Holden started playing in the Mississippi State game. He caught like 3 or 4 passes for 70-something yards and a touchdown against Mississippi State. And we thought, okay, there's the number 3 guy. And then he went 2 weeks without playing. It was very strange how they handled the wide receiver situation all season long. But I've talked all season how you shouldn't doubt Alabama, you shouldn't doubt Nick Saban, and my point was that Alabama's most likely going to be in the championship game. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep them out of it, and you know what I mean. It's hard to. I'm not saying they're going to win it every year, but they're probably going to be there, and that's my whole point about even with all the bad decisions that Bill O'Brien made. The lack of development at wide receiver. I'm not talking about from a talent perspective, but from an experience perspective. I mean, they didn't put the guys out there. I mean, Ajay Hall, I know he dropped one, but you can just see the talent that oozes from that kid. I mean, if he's got his hands on the ball, he's dangerous, and he never saw the field in time that mattered, and that's a little frustrating, but
that's timing between him and Bryce.
I mean,
and you were right in the chat, Jake. JMO would have caught that ball because he would have known where Bryce likes to throw the ball. That's a whole timing experience thing. That was one play where not having JMO hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
And not to overpower you, Jake, but on the whole coaching part of it, everybody preaches about putting your players in the best position to win, and the lack of Bill O'Brien just not – I'm not saying – because you're not going to run on Georgia consistently. But there was moments in that game that Brian Robinson was able to get some yards and it just takes some of the pressure off Bryce Young. I mean, he threw it like 50-something times.
He got hit 53 times.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you got to do something to counteract the aggressive attack that Georgia had every time Bryce dropped back to pass. And it just seemed like it was abandoned a little too much. The running game was. I'm not saying it would have made a difference in the game, but I just think that Bill O'Brien has too much of an NFL style of scheme, and it just didn't mesh well with this team. There was moments throughout the season that it looked good, but I mean, when you got a healthy John Mechie, a healthy Jamison Williams, and a healthy Bryce Young, I mean, I could call some plays and they're gonna make me look good. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, but I just feel like that Bill O'Brien didn't mesh well with this team. We were talking before we went live with Steven about how nice it would have been to see Steve Sarkisian call plays for this Alabama team this year.
It wouldn't have mattered. I mean, Jake, you and I could have been out there catching passes, and Alabama would have won that game probably. I mean, it's just light years difference because it's just one simple fact of Sark fits his scheme to his players.
Yep.
Bill O'Brien is stubborn, and again, it's the NFL. It's a totally different, and he's not necessarily wrong.
Right. Yeah.
It just doesn't fit at Alabama.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that he's a bad coach either or a bad play caller.
It'll fit.
Yeah.
It's an NFL style. Will Levis had to deal with it. Todd Monken, until Stetson fumbled, he woke up and realized, oh crap, I better start actually calling plays for Stetson and not just my system,
Yeah.
And they try. I mean, he kept trying to make Stetson a pocket passer, and that's just not what he is. Same with Bryce.
Yeah.
Bryce and Stetson are not pocket guys, and that's not a knock on them. That's just not what they are. That's not what they do.
Yeah,
They
that's
got
not
to
their
use their
playing
feet.
style.
Right. They got to use their legs to get, move out of the pocket to make plays. And
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to seen Bryce do that a little bit more, but it just never materialized this year. I don't know, like you guys said, if it was on coaching or what, but
Yeah, that's
it's
surprising to me in
yeah,
this game,
I
knowing that it's the last game of the year, that there was not any attempt to even try to run Bryce Young in any
Yeah,
way.
it
That was
wasn't the
really
defense's
surprising
fault.
to
I
me.
can tell you that much.
um,
The defense did everything humanly possible, and then the dam just broke.
yeah,
Right,
Late in the
right.
fourth, and Georgia got that. Georgia
Right.
got that
Oh,
one drive, but
when Georgia established the run, the game was over. I mean,
yeah,
once they established the run in the fourth quarter, the game was over because uh, Alabama's offense, they had proven it throughout the entire game. They could move the ball, much like Georgia did in the SEC championship game. They could move the ball between the 20s,
mhm,
but once they got in the red zone, they just couldn't finish drives. And whatever the reason was for that, obviously Georgia has a great defense. That's one of the biggest reasons. But they just couldn't finish drives. And
they were
late in that
off.
game, Georgia was able to put the game away by the offensive line dominating the line of scrimmage and their backs making big plays. And James Cook and uh,
yeah.
Zamir White made plays, and Stetson Bennett made the great touchdown pass to Mitchell, and that was a great pass and a great
That
catch. I mean,
was
Oh yeah,
Kyrie Jackson was right there in coverage.
I don't think he could have covered him any tighter. I mean, it
I
was
mean,
just a great play.
I don't know what people expect. People were downing the kid on that. I'm like, what do you want him to do? I mean,
yeah,
You
good
can't. I mean,
grief.
he could literally do nothing else on that play. I mean, he had it blanketed.
yeah.
He had it. I mean, I guess tackle him maybe. I don't know. Get the
He
He
did
did
one
do that one
time.
time. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Which
Hey,
was
that
a
was
great.
actually a smart play. I
That
mean,
was a
that's
Oh
a
really
yeah,
smart
great
play.
penalty.
yeah. That I mean, in college, that's a 15-yard penalty. In the NFL, it's where the spot of the foul or
Mhm.
where the spot of the ball is at. So
No, it
that
was a
was
spot foul. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So that was a very smart play because he was beat,
yeah,
and
he was
I
toast.
mean, and that's one thing. Stacey, we have talked about it, and Corey, you probably know as well. But this was Alabama's youngest team. You
Hmm.
know, that Saban's carried to a championship game, and not having our starting corners. Now Kool-Aid has played some, and you know um, Kyrie played in the Cincinnati game, but they're just the experience is just not there.
And again,
You know,
this falls back on coaching. I mean,
right?
you have to get those guys ready to play mentally and physically,
Right.
and as what Nick Saban's been able to do so brilliantly throughout the course of his career, he was unable to do last night. He was unable
Right.
to get his team off the mat after JMO went down,
Yeah,
and mentally they never recovered. And usually a Saban team is okay. They might be down for a couple drives, but we're back, and the offense just sputtered after that. Like Bill O'Brien, it was like you took away his play sheet and he didn't know what to
Right.
do,
Yeah.
and that's concerning.
Well, and I'll say this: I think it's important for people to remember that not every freshman is a Tua, not every freshman is a Devontae Smith or a Jalen Waddle. There's there's guys that it does take a year and maybe even 2 years before they
Mhm.
become, the type of player that can help you win championships. So I don't think Alabama fans should be concerned about that. I mean, it's first of all, it's one game against a great team
Mhm.
that's well coached with a lot of great players. So I mean, if the Alabama players or the Alabama coaching staff, and I don't think they are, or if the Alabama fan base is holding their head down after that, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, it's just you can't win it every year. I kind of got into it with somebody at work today. They were like, where was that top ranked team at? I said they were on the field. It was just the other team. I mean, you can't be the best team every year.
Alabama didn't lose.
Yeah,
Georgia
right,
won.
right. Yeah, I mean,
And there's a huge difference in that statement.
exactly, exactly. and they won it in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just
Mhm.
like Saban said to Kirby when they met at midfield, "Hey, guy, you kicked our asses in the fourth quarter." I mean, that's just what happened. Let's call a spade a spade. Georgia kicked Alabama's ass in the fourth quarter, and that was the difference in the game.
Mhm. Without a doubt. And that was finally for me that was refreshing to see because usually it's the other way around. We're taking the
Right.
ass kicking in the fourth quarter. The last 5 times we've met, or last 7 times really, we're usually taking the ass kicking in the fourth quarter, Stacey, and it was refreshing to see that now we're making the plays and
Right.
we're pick sixing the quarterback. We're blocking a field goal. We're making the decisive plays and
Yep.
Alabama's kind of reeling. Like now we had the depth advantage and the experience advantage.
Right.
Alabama was in the shoes that we usually wear, where we have a couple guys go down and man, it's good night nurse.
Yeah.
But I think the beautiful thing about Kirby rotating so many guys on defense is that Latavius Breedy was a starter all year at the star position.
Mm-hmm.
He got replaced by William Poole over the last couple of games, and it's been a dramatic upgrade. And Poole had a tremendous game last night, covering Slade Bolden, covering Trayshawn Hall on several occasions, and mostly matched up with Bolden, but just did a tremendous job in coverage last night. Latavius Brainy would have been burnt toast on a lot of those plays that Poole made plays on. So
Yeah.
just that development alone, like Poole was an afterthought at the beginning of the season. Like he was a down the line guy at the beginning of the season. He developed. He got time. He got minutes.
Yeah. I want to ask you, Corey, since your team won, what about the game surprised you the most, if anything?
Being able to psychologically get over a catastrophic play that
Yeah.
late,
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing. Stetson fumbling, that would have broken us a month ago, and
Yeah.
it did actually. It broke us a month ago. And to come back so decisively on that very next series to
Yep.
to to roar down the field and score a touchdown. I was like, okay, this is different. This is the mature team that I've been talking about all season long.
Right.
Like
Right.
here it is.
See, and that's what experienced, talented teams do.
Mhm.
Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean the game's over. Doesn't mean that you have to, you know, reinvent the wheel on the next drive. Just play within yourself. That's
Mhm.
what they went back to the Georgia way of offense. They established a little bit of running game, and they
Mhm.
allowed Stetson Bennett to make throws that he is comfortable making, and they made the plays, and that was the difference in the game. That drive was the. I mean, you can go back and say if you want to pick apart different things that JMO going down really changed what Alabama had to do offensively, and I mean, probably the
Shouldn't
game
have.
was really, yeah, probably the game was decided there from a psychological standpoint for Alabama,
Mhm.
especially offensively. But I thought, like you said, when the Stetson Bennett fumble happened, uh, when Georgia was able to go back the very next series and score, I thought to myself, well, they've leaped the hurdle. They're over that now.
Mhm.
They now know that they can win this game, and it's going to be tough for Alabama to overcome now.
Yeah, no doubt. And I thought that was a great turning point. And to go back on your point about for Alabama, and I hate to rehash the JMO injury, um, and this that whole situation where if the ball was 6 inches a little bit further out, he might be walking in the end zone doing cartwheels.
Right.
Same with the George Pickens play. If that
Right.
ball is a little bit more in front of him, that might have been a touchdown. Or first series, had they ruled that Bryce Young
Right.
incomplete pass the other way, which I mean honestly could have gone either way. Same with the Stetson play, could have gone either way. Which I don't like the inconsistency with that call. I think if you call it one way, welcome back, Jake. I think if you call it one way, you got to call it the same way because it was a very similar play.
Yeah, I've got to the point with replay. I would just rather them just do away with replay. I
Yeah,
mean, just
it's
just let the dudes call it on the field, and that's it. I mean, because all they do is waste time.
they're gonna screw it up either way. I mean that
Either
and
way, I mean,
and I'm not one to get on the refs. I'm not one to say referees because I mean the players decide the game. But when there's
right,
that many penalties, on both sides.
Yeah, well, there had to be close to 20 penalties in the game.
It was, I mean, it was like penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty. Some of them were earned, a lot of them weren't.
Yeah,
A lot of them weren't.
It's been that way. It gets worse every year, in my opinion.
The game, and honestly, what happens? The game gets faster, and there's less people that actually want to referee. So,
Yeah,
take that for what it is. But so you just kind of have to live with it and deal with it and play within it and not let it
right.
define you. But again, it's hard to not get frustrated with it. But
Jake, are you back?
I'm here. I don't know. Sorry, people in the chat. My internet has went wonky.
Cody, he is the new Windows 95. Okay, 56K Jake now. Okay, can we change that? Can we change that, Cody? Okay.
Yeah, I'm fixing to call. I'm gonna call Charter and be like, "Look, my internet's messed up. Y'all need to come check it out. See what the crap going on." 28.8K Jake. All right, Steven. Yeah.
But Jake, we were talking about what surprised us most about the game last night, and we kind of both agree that it was the Georgia's ability to kind of clear the hurdle of a big time mistake not costing them the game. Not letting that carry over to another possession or carry over the rest of the game. And after the Stetson Bennett fumble, Georgia went down the field and scored and really just took the game over from that point forward. But what really surprised you most?
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Kirby finally got over that hurdle of beating Saban. That I felt like in the past that has cost him from doing a great coaching job. I mean, it would get within just get in his head, and it would overtake his ability to just make the correct call. I mean, we look at the 4th and 11, where he tried to fake a punt right up the middle on a run, with Justin Fields. It's little stuff like that, So and hats off to Kirby, man, and Saban gave him praise, and Saban, even in a loss, said all the correct things, and Kirby did as well. I mean, we all three of us, including Stephen Four, and I'm sure everybody in the chat knows these two teams are on a collision course again for next year.
Yeah,
and it will probably be in the SEC championship game, and then again in the playoffs. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Now Stetson Bennett still got another year of eligibility, right?
He does.
He is, and he's on record in saying that he's deciding what's going to be the future. He's not necessarily slam dunk to come back to Georgia. He's going to talk with Kirby on that. But to go back on your point, Jake, about Kirby and Nick, or Coach Smart and Coach Saban, I have not seen two coaches in college football have that much respect for each other.
Right.
The way that those two do. And I think that I think Nick Saban was disappointed that Jimbo was actually the first to beat him.
I think he was too.
Yeah, you're right.
I think he was too.
I think he deep down he's like, okay, I'm not going to go undefeated against all my assistants. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
I want it to be Kirby.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if y'all caught Saban's press conference last night after the game, but he talked about, obviously he wished that Alabama would have won, but if he's going to lose a championship, he wants it to be to a former assistant like Kirby, who's done a great job building a program. And, he was very complimentary of Kirby, and I mean, who couldn't be? He's built an incredible program. And, I imagine as young as Kirby is and as well as he's recruited, this ain't going to be the first championship he wins there.
Right.
No, I mean, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be until Saban retires. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, this conference is getting better too. So I mean, it's not a mortal lock that we are that our two teams are going to be playing against each other. But I mean, as of right now, we're the two most loaded rosters with the two best coaches in the league. So I think when you look at it, obviously we're the favorites, but then again, Tennessee is on the rise with Josh Heupel. Florida just made a really good hire with Billy Napier. Ole Miss is starting to figure some things out with Lane Kiffin. They're still in very infant stages of building their program up. Pitt Boss up at Arkansas is heading in the right direction.
A&M.
A&M. I mean, this league is getting really, really, really good,
Yeah.
and it's going to be to the point where the rest of the country is going to be like, why do we even want to get in the playoff? Like they're going to have to expand it to 24 teams just to get another team in just to get another team in the playoff. I mean, it's going to get to the point where all 14. It's just going to be they're just going to reseed the SEC and play a tournament. I mean, that's just what it's going to be.
Hey, I'm good. I'm good with it.
Hey, I'm fine with the SEC splitting away from the NCAA and
Hey,
starting its own league.
I'm good with that, but
Absolutely.
won't be Auburn. Sorry, Jake. Yeah. How bad is it to be an Auburn fan right now? Your three biggest rivals have won back to back to back national championships:
Yep.
LSU, Bama, and now Georgia. And all the 1980 jokes go right out the window for Tennessee fans and Florida fans and Tech fans and all that stuff. So,
we were talking about Kirby and Nick. I think it obviously
hold
meant
on,
some.
Stacey.
Yeah.
Nick Saban can coach from the spirit world. Yes, and he will. He'll be a hologram, and he'll still be the best coach in the conference. So, all right, go ahead, Stacey.
Yeah,
Sorry
so people say that they're building a Saban bot, and he's just going to roam the sidelines after Saban moves on to another life and just keeps it going. But you could tell last night when they met at midfield that it meant so much for Kirby to beat Nick, not because I beat my boss, but because this, if I want to be considered an elite football coach, this is who I got to beat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's who I got to beat. And, they're probably really close. Obviously they are. They worked together for a very long time. And, Saban was genuinely happy for Kirby and to be able to accomplish that because, we talked about the injuries and the youth of a team, but that's what makes winning the championship so special is you don't just have to have good players. You don't just have to have good coaches. You have to have a lot of things go your way too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, from an injury standpoint, even if you have injuries, do you have injuries to positions that are, you have good depth at? Do you have injuries at positions that you don't have good depth at? There's a lot that goes into winning a championship. And sometimes you have to have, the ball bounce your way in certain situations. Sometimes you don't, but there's so much that goes into winning a championship. And that's what makes it special. And that's why, to me, you can't use the cheap excuse of John Mechie and Jamison Williams not being in the game because we don't know for sure if they're in the game if Alabama wins. I mean, I would like their chances, but I mean, you don't know what happens when those guys are on the field. I mean, there's just so many variables. That's why it's special. That's why whoever wins it, they obviously deserve it. They were obviously the better team, at least for that night. So, and that's what matters. And I think the fans more so than anybody else kind of get caught up in all the what ifs.
Yeah,
and that they really shouldn't because it takes away from what the players at Georgia and the coaches at Georgia had to do all season long, and the players and coaches at Alabama as well. They all had to overcome so much, and the best team last night won. I mean, that's just that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The best team on Monday, what was it, January 10th, won the championship.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Stacey. I mean, what bothers me is that there's so many good national pundits out there that are taking these lazy takes that are spewing this lazy stuff. I don't know if it's just propaganda that they're trying to, or they're just trying to say, they're just desperately trying not to say anything bad about Alabama. So they're going to make all the excuses for Alabama. I hate it. I mean, you lost. There are reasons why you lost.
Right.
And the reasons are you didn't fix the things that crippled you.
Right.
Like losing JMO, losing Mechie should not cripple you from an offensive standpoint when you still have your Heisman quarterback and another great running back and a really athletic playmaking tight end in Latu, and you still have Slade Bolden, who is your Hunter Renfrow, Wes Welker slot guy.
Yep.
And you still have Ja'Cory Brooks, who's had several big games down the stretch for Alabama. I mean, you still have those pieces that, hey,
Right.
I can figure out with my Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, I can figure out how to mesh all of these guys and not feature one guy, but make you defend all of those guys. And I think that was kind of the difference in schemes when you look at Munkin versus Bill O'Brien. Munkin, unfortunately for Georgia, Munkin had to deal with this early on in the season, so he probably got a little more seasoning in. Okay, I've got to involve James Cook, Zamir White, Kenny McIntosh, uh, Lad McConkey, and Brock Bowers, and he said that, and he had to deal with all of that, and so he figured out how to use those guys within his scheme.
Yeah.
Whereas had he just had this dumped on him, I don't know that he would have figured that out quite so fast. But Bill O'Brien is a seasoned NFL guy. He should be able to figure that out, but he didn't. Because in the NFL, like with the Houston Texans, until he made the dumbest trade in NFL history, he was featuring not Brandon Cooks. He was featuring DeAndre Hopkins,
Right.
with Deshaun Watson. Like that's all he needed was that, right? So I think when you look at how he managed it, I mean, it's exactly how an NFL guy would manage it. Like, you're going to fall apart that week. If CeeDee Lamb goes down for the Cowboys, they're probably done,
Right.
because they rely so heavily on him. Or let's say, for Kansas City, let's say Tyreek Hill sprains an ankle. Yeah, he's toast, man. Like, the Chiefs are toast because Mahomes probably won't know what to do. And so
luckily here on Best of the West, we're not that way, because Jake is obviously having a career-ending injury.
He's got the surrender crowbar going.
Oh boy, he is.
We found a way to use other weapons in the absence of Jake.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
This has been a disaster on my end.
Yeah. And now the internet's better. I can finally read the chat again. Bill O'Brien just strikes me as a prick who flat refuses or isn't capable of explaining things to players in a manner they can more easily understand. Why? Because he's an NFL guy and he's used to dealing with people that are paid millions of dollars to learn a system.
Right. Yeah.
No excuses. That's what he's used to.
Yep.
Saban knew that. This is on Saban for hiring him. Like, you knew one of these times, and fortunately for Alabama, it flopped, but you guys are national runners up because it flopped. Why? Because Saban is a masterful recruiter.
Yeah.
And still has his hands on the defense. So you finish, instead of going 6-6 into the Birmingham Bowl, you finish national runner up in an epic game. So
yeah.
You talking bad about my Tigers?
Yes, I am. So you should be ashamed of yourself, War Eagle.
Hey, guys,
So what would be worse, me barking or me saying War Eagle?
That.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I got a question for you. Okay, the SEC is getting ready to go to 16 teams. The Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC is actively trying to block every college football proposal that's put out. The SEC is fine at staying with 4. We've had this conversation on Twitter many times. But this is a different conversation. At what point does the SEC just say, screw it, take a couple of more expansions that might not be SEC teams, think Ohio State and Michigan, and just form a 22 or 24 team league and just have their own competition?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they plucked 32 teams and just formed their own like mini NFL with like Clemson, UNC, Florida State, Miami, Michigan, Ohio State, and just roll. And just say, okay, everybody else, go screw yourselves.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that personally.
I think Ohio State would do that. I think Ohio State would leave. I think Wisconsin would leave. I think Wisconsin would come to this new league.
Right. Penn State.
I think the team to look at.
You can leave Penn State behind. Screw that.
The next 10 years, the team to watch for that might do something ridiculous is USC.
That's a good point.
Like, ridiculous as in like
join the SEC.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
But what would happen? Lincoln Riley would go take the head job at Hawaii if that happened.
He's trying to move as far away as he can.
Let me get as far away from the lower 48 as I possibly can.
Right.
Lincoln Riley, next coach at UCLA.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't even make it to spring practice, guys.
Yeah, he's a.
His tenure might be as fast as Mike Price's at Alabama.
That's right.
Whoa.
Very
Greatest coach
quick.
in Alabama history right there, Mike Price.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, UTEP's good. Who knew?
Yeah, UTEP is good.
Y'all, I remember going to the A-Day game, the one that Mike Price was at, and Brody Kroll went absolutely bananas in that Mike Price offense. And I know it was a practice game, but dude, it was unreal how good Brody Kroll was in that system for that one game. And then we all know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So do you think if Mike Price controls himself and doesn't go to the strip club, that Nick Saban would have never came to Alabama?
Probably so. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, it wasn't about just Mike Price going to the strip club. Mike Price can go to the strip club. Let's just not. He was buying lap dances with the company credit card.
Yeah.
That's what cost him his job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not a good look.
He pulled out the wrong. Card.
He did.
Yeah.
He should have just said, "Oops, I'm old. I pulled out."
And
the
what
wrong
strip
card. My
club in Lower Alabama in 2003 is taking plastic for lap dances?
Right.
I want to know what strip club down there you want a lap dance from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brings new meaning to hail damage.
Oh my God. Is this SEC After Dark?
Yeah, Stacey just replaced Jeb this week.
Yeah, I mean it's gone off the rails.
I just chimed in, so it could be.
Steven entered the conversation, and it's went downhill ever since.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah, I have a
He's
way of
not
making
even
that
drinking his
happen.
land shark tonight.
No, I had no
No.
intention of coming in.
Steve, what's that shirt you got there?
It is a hoodie.
Oh, it's a hoodie.
Nice.
What does it say on it? Is that it says Ole
Ole
Miss?
Miss.
Ole Miss.
It does not look like Ole Miss from here.
No, it looks like the state of Tennessee.
It was
I was saying, man, like, what's going on here, man? Are you a Vol
it
fan,
was
all
the
this stuff?
Nike 2020 players shirt that they distributed. And I saw that and I was like, ooh, I like that. And I got one. And I do like it. I was right.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is absolutely getting boat raced right now by Texas A&M.
Uh-oh.
A&M's good.
I'm not sure Georgia has a basketball team at this point.
You got
Alabama
the
was down
Stegosaurus, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alabama was down at half by 5 to Auburn. So
And it looks like a Stegosaurus too. That's the fun
yes, it does.
part. It looks like the actual dinosaur Stegosaurus.
So
Oh man.
yeah, we just went there. I'm sorry I blew up y'all's show.
No, you're
it's
good.
Yeah.
It's good, man.
No,
This is
I
entertaining.
think we had like pretty much covered the game from
Yeah.
from all angles as much as possible.
Did any of you? I recorded it. I might torture myself later. But did anybody watch the Jimbo Fisher film room?
No.
I did not.
Watch the Jimbo Fisher film room because I heard people talking about it. I didn't actually see it myself. As you can see the actual dynamics of who has Jimbo's ears in that broadcast. So, yeah, if you want to know who's important at A&M, watch that broadcast because there's obviously all coaching staffs has a hierarchy to get to the head coach. You can see you can apparently see it fairly easy there.
Okay.
All right. Is
Yeah.
he just with his staff?
So it's his whole staff. It's just him and
It's
his staff.
Jimbo and his whole staff. That's what beating Saban
Wow.
as his assistant will do. Yeah.
I was wondering because I saw it with Jimbo Fisher. I'm like, this is not going to be Jimbo Fisher just sitting here for 3 hours just watching the game and saying
That would be
shit.
boring as all get out.
Can you imagine? Let's take just a second to realize all of this going on, and Auburn thought that Zach Calzada was the answer to their problems.
Hey, that's what I was going to talk about, the 2022
He's a
outlook.
Bama killer, man.
He beat Bama, man. What are you talking about?
Apparently, you have to wear number 10 at Auburn and with a win over Alabama on your resume to play quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's a push to me between TJ Finley and Calzada. So I mean, I don't understand them taking him. I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, the sad part is it's not a push. Calzada's way better than Finley.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think Finley has
Finley's
good
awesome.
upside if he's healthy.
Yeah.
I think he just
No, not
The problem
there.
with Auburn, if you put a statue
maybe
back
not.
there,
Maybe not at Auburn. Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, that's a good point. Not at Auburn
his
in
current
that system.
situation. He's
Right.
awful.
Yeah.
I mean, Bo Nix was running for his life, and that offensive line was almost as bad as Jimbo left at FSU. I mean,
Yeah.
it's horrible. And right now, just sitting here thinking, I'm thinking about Auburn for 7th in the West.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Will Rogers is back at Mississippi State, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty much bringing, I think they're missing 2 linemen and
Who
a
put the
safety,
7th this
Mississippi
year?
State. So,
Yeah, and Ole Miss at the end of this week is potentially getting a visit from Jackson Dark and Michael Trigg to go along with
Dude.
Zach Evans.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart is a dude.
yeah.
So
I guess that means Caleb Williams is headed to L.A.
oh yeah, as soon as Jackson
yeah.
Dart entered the transfer portal out there, it was like,
yeah.
the writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart would do well with Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin.
Stephen,
Really,
while you're here, I was going to talk. I want to hear your thoughts on the era that's supposed to begin with Luke Altmaier. How you feel about it?
man, when I was watching the Sugar Bowl, like any type of a game, like Matt Corral goes down in the first quarter, and in the second quarter, it's just all emergency get to halftime, and it looked that way. And then during halftime, they were able to build a small package for him. In that third quarter, I thought something special was about to happen with that kid. And then the fourth quarter, because Dave Aranda's a hell of a defensive coach, they figured out how to counter that a little bit. But he absolutely flashed, and it's at the point where I don't care who Ole Miss brings in. I want them to bring somebody in, and I want them to push it, but I'm not going to just say that the job's not going to be won by Luke Altmaier to begin with.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he has a little bit of it in him. And now Jackson Dart could change things. He's like you said, he's a little bit of a dude. But it's a situation that I'd be worried if Ole Miss did get Jackson Dart that Luke Altmaier might enter the portal.
Yeah.
See, that's kind of what the portal's done is now you ain't got to stick around. I mean, it's
Right.
I mean, if you feel like you need to go, you just go.
Yeah.
So,
And,
I mean,
by the way, guys, Zach Evans is a dude.
oh yeah,
Yes.
that's
That was a. I mean, he was a Georgia Bulldog. He had signed his LOI, and I think some stuff happened that obviously he has since put in the rear view. But Kirby said, "No, we can't take you, man. There's just too much."
yeah. He had a lot of baggage at that point in time.
Yeah,
Coming out of high
Yeah,
school.
he rectified it somehow.
He's
Yeah.
he's a weird dude. He's got a real big fixation with wolves, as in he likes to draw.
Yeah,
Seriously, I'm telling the truth. I mean, he's just a weird guy, weird personality thing. He's kind of like Greg Hardy in that aspect. But whenever he runs, you just look at his highlights, like when he was at TCU, and he wasn't necessarily used a lot at TCU, but there are plays where he looked like Adrian Peterson. Out there.
Because TCU is. That's why Gary Patterson got fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really went downhill.
Yeah.
Another back from Alabama standpoint, Jahmyr Gibbs from Georgia Tech. That's going to end up being a very big get for
I
Alabama.
saw that and I'm like, oh, why? I was so happy with him, like
being on a
not
terrible
having
team.
Najee Harris.
Yeah.
Well, the best thing for Alabama, and we're talking about 2022, is the fact that in the spring there's no John Mechie and no Jamison Williams, so they
Somebody's
have to put they have to put other dudes out there and use them.
And
Yep.
and depending on what's going on, no Bill O'Brien.
Yeah,
Because he might be in Carolina.
yeah. I imagine
He's the odds-on leaguer to get the Jacksonville job, which would be hilarious if he got the Jacksonville job.
Yeah, it would be.
DB coach left a little bit ago from Alabama. He's heading to Oklahoma to be the co-defensive
Mm-hmm.
coordinator. Jay Valai, I think that's how you say his last name. It's kind of a weird spelled last name, but
Yeah.
So he's gone. And of course, there's a lot of rumors about other people, but obviously Bill O'Brien's the big one. So
Yeah,
that's going to be interesting.
What's the rumor about Pete?
There's all indications he's staying. He's
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he
I don't
ended
think
on a
that
good enough
cheerleader
note.
he's hooking up with graduated yet. So
that was, you know. Yeah, that GA had to come out real quick and
it wasn't him, but it did look like him.
It did.
The GA looks a lot like Pete with a beard when he has a beard. He is since shaved. He's like, I probably should keep a shaved face so people don't confuse me with Pete Golden.
Yeah, Cassidy, I can't make any promises. But
hey, I told you last night to be careful if you celebrated, so be safe.
I did. I'm injured.
How about Kirby's vertical on
Dude,
I mean,
he was an all conference defensive back, so.
That was Ringo that had the pick six, right?
Yeah, but that was 25 years ago, Corey. We all know.
He picked off Peyton Manning twice.
Yeah. If I tried to jump like that now, like me and Peyton Manning's the same age. If I tried to jump like that right now, I would blow out my Achilles, pull a hamstring, and hurt my quad all at the same time. Maybe a groin injury as well.
How old is Kirby?
46.
46.
Oh, he's my age too. Okay.
I thought he was around that age. It's hard to keep up with it. Time moves so fast that.
Yeah.
You know, I went on
Jake's War Eagle. Kirby ran a 4.3 when DeAndre Swift scored that one touchdown.
So
it's amazing what a adrenaline can do.
Yeah.
I went on a recruiting visit. Ole Miss was playing Georgia in 93, maybe. I think it was
93?
Yeah, maybe. And I got there and I realized that just nobody was saying hi to me. Nothing was going on. They were just kind of ignoring me. I wasn't that great of a player, I don't think. But, I mean, normally they give you that cursory, hey, how you doing? Because they just don't know who you are. But then I was like, what is going on? Because nothing was happening. I had free roam of the stadium and everything. I could just do whatever I wanted to do. And then I saw a huge crowd of people walking around like the Beatles. And I chose to go up there the same day that Peyton Manning visited Ole Miss. And just... he walked around and it was just like 70 people around him. You could see all of the Ole Miss coaches, the whole 9 yards. And then Ole Miss went and got on probation and just ruined everything.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Mannings, what's going to happen with Arch?
Until he doesn't go to Ole Miss, I'm going to think he's going to Ole Miss because his recruitment looks just like Eli's. Instead of Georgia at that time, it was Texas. And that's all you heard about was Texas. And then he came down to announce and he went down there. Because everybody talks about NIL and the money that Georgia can pay and Alabama can pay and Texas can pay and the whole 9 yards. The reality is, I don't think people realize how much money a Manning can make in NIL starting quarterback at Ole Miss.
Oh, it don't matter where he goes.
He's going to be fine.
Yeah,
but
just the name alone is.
It's worth its weight in gold. Georgia's got a quarterback problem right now, and it's a real one because now they've sat Justin Fields for Jake Fromm, and they've sat JT Daniels for Stetson Bennett. Not saying it's not warranted. It's just that Georgia doesn't want a playmaker; they want a game manager. And that's how they want to win. And they were able to win this game. So
Stetson somehow turned into a playmaker at times.
Did.
So
he made that one pass when Alabama jumped off sides, which, by the way, either Will Anderson is the fastest human being alive or he was offsides half the night.
I think it's the
I don't know what happened, but there were times when the tackle just did not have a chance. But
Yeah, it was,
that one drive in the fourth quarter, they figured out how to block Will Anderson and give Stetson time to throw the ball. The offsides with the free play that took the pressure off, and a fantastic catch by AD. Probably the play of the night for Stetson Bennett, though, was that 17-yard out route to Jermaine Burton. And once that got completed, he kind of started getting into gear. Because let's not forget, in this game, Stetson Bennett for 50 minutes of it was not good. He's going
he
to
was
be
downright awful.
Yeah, he can take all the money off of NIL, open up a bar in Athens, tell stories about the national championship, and never buy another drink again. I mean, he can make just tons of money with that. But he was bad for most of that game. But good for him for making those plays when he did. But that touchdown to Brock Bowers, that was really a bust by the Alabama defense. I mean, there was nobody over there.
Well, they were selling out. It was an RPO. They were selling out on the run.
Yeah, and once he caught the ball, it was a touchdown. But there was really one,
because it was a terrible spot and it was third and like inches.
That free play though.
Yeah, how was that
probably
not a first down anyway?
Yeah, I don't get that. He clearly went past the
Right. Yeah. They showed the replay from the sideline of where the pilot or where the marker's at. I mean, the ball was
across.
Yeah. I mean, I told my wife, I said, well, that's the first down. And then I turn away. I went and get a water out of the fridge, and I come back and it's 3rd and inches. I'm like, what?
Because that particular camera angle was the first down mark.
I know. It's crazy.
He's like clearly past this thing. Like, what the hell? But yeah, no, I think, with Stetson, like this goes down to like the psychology of the team with Stetson.
Right.
Like, I think Stetson just has a way about him that people just like elevate around him, and it's weird because like he's this 5'9" walk-on kid that hardly has a speck of talent, but can get the most out of his teammates.
No.
But what's scary is Gunnar Stockton is the 5-star version of Stetson. He can move. He has a rifle for an arm. And
wait, is that going to be the true freshman?
Yeah.
What about Vandergriff? And
I think he'll beat out Vandergriff.
Okay.
Beck is gone. I think Beck is gone. I'd be surprised if Beck stayed.
Okay. So is he going to do the who was the guy that was at Clemson and ended up at Appy State this year?
Chase Bryce,
where he just goes down and down and down and down to find a level that he can play at.
I think that's going to be. Carson Beck's got a ton of talent, but he's just raw. Like I think he'd be somebody that could, go to. I mean, God, if he went to Vanderbilt, I mean, he would kill it at Vanderbilt.
Now, what's the deal with Harrison Bailey? Have we heard about Harrison Bailey?
No, I haven't heard a thing about.
He's been in the portal for 4 months.
He might end up at Army.
Jackson State.
Yeah,
no. Deion Sanders' son is the quarterback.
That's why he'll end up there. He'll just go and that's the only play. They're like, yeah, Harrison, we need a backup.
To show you how great Alabama's run has been with Nick Saban and what's going on is Bear Bryant's grandson is transferring away and nobody is saying a word.
Yeah, Nick Saban has officially entered the realm of God status. I mean, that dude is ridiculous, man.
Yeah, in the article I wrote for like the 5 takeaways for Roll Tide Wire, the last one was, Nick Saban, squeezed every bit out of this team that he possibly could, considering the circumstances around the roster and the coaching staff, maybe not being up to snuff, especially, from not that Bill O'Brien's he's a great offensive mind. There's no question. Obviously, you don't get where you're at by not having a great offensive mind, but the chemistry, I guess, or the continuity that he had with the players on the offense just wasn't there. They didn't mesh well together for whatever reason. Nobody's fault, not the players' fault, not the coach's fault. It just kind of is what it is, and there's no way of really knowing that until you're in that situation. So I don't blame Bill O'Brien, but I think Nick Saban really squeezed about as much as he possibly could out of this 2021 2022 Alabama team. So, I mean, it sucks to lose the game, but from just looking at it from 1,000 feet away, it's hard to really complain about the season Alabama had.
Yeah, this year, this was a 9-3 level Alabama team this year. They went to the national championship game, and they
lost
came
a
up
game
with
that they really should not have lost.
Yeah, and was probably ended up being the second best team in the country because, we all called this game after week 1. Yeah, it's like, okay, Georgia and Alabama, best teams in the country. This was all called, and Bryce Young took that team that was a 9-3 team and made them an 11-1 team. He had one night where his offensive line kind of let him down and pressure kind of got to him against A&M. And then the national championship game where it's just weapons. Whenever you're counting on a running back against Kirby Smart and Georgia's defense, that's just a bad place to live.
Even with JMO, they kept hitting him. I mean, Georgia's defense, honestly, they did a good job of rattling Bryce. I mean, I kept saying, I was like, teams that hit the key to Bryce right now, because he's so young, like if you just physically beat him, he will start getting rattled. There's several throws and God willing, like you could see why he won the Heisman, because a lot of the throws he made that he completed would not have been completed by any other quarterback, because it was literally catch and just fling it out because I'm about to get destroyed. But he can throw dimes like that where other people can't.
I've got a theory, by the way, and I think the secret weapon for that game was actually Will Muschamp. And I called this before the game because Nick Saban knows everything and how Kirby Smart is going to react to every potential situation. And that has bit Georgia time and time again because Nick Saban just knows what he's going to do because they're practically symbiotic at this point. Will Muschamp brought a different flavor and a pressure package. I said all week that Georgia needed to come out with exotics, and they didn't overly blitz because they didn't have to, but they came from different places. You didn't know where it was coming from. Were they coming from the edge? Were they coming up the middle? Were they going to try and hit the B gap? And I think a lot of that was Will Muschamp.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's going to be him and Glenn Schumann as DCs next year, so I imagine they had a lot more input this go around than normal, because Dan Lanning obviously is now the head coach of the University of Oregon. So
now instead of barking, he gets to hear quacking.
Quack, quack, quack. Mr. Lanning. Quack, quack, quack. It's Mighty Ducks reference.
Jake says, sorry, everybody. I'm currently ripping out my Ethernet cord as I type this. I'll be back tomorrow night and definitely next Tuesday. Got to reset this router. He apparently ran out of AOL disks tonight and will be with us tomorrow.
His code, his free trial.
For his 7-day free trial has ran out.
Yeah, it's all done.
So, fellas.
All right. Well, is there anything else y'all want to talk about?
I think we've really covered all the bases for.
SEC historian wants to know what we're going to talk about moving forward. We're going to talk about that sport where like there's a round orange ball and apparently you throw it through some net.
Yeah,
they call it
got boat race by A&M tonight, and Auburn's up by 10 on Bama in Tuscaloosa.
This is going to be fun because it's going to be my weekly. Why is Tom Crean still employed?
I think about the fact that he's like Jim Harbaugh's brother-in-law or something like that, and I was like, man, can you imagine being the bad one at a meal that has Jim Harbaugh in it?
Yeah, you have Jack, John, Jim, and then now Tom Crean at the table, and you're like far and away the worst coach at the table.
Oh, man.
He just needs to go to some mid-major school and overachieve because that's kind of what he's a mid-major coach.
Yep.
Yeah, and tune in tomorrow night for SEC After Dark.
That's right.
3 of us will be on it. Unfortunately, not Stacey, but Jeb will be on the show, and we'll be talking all about the game, and you will get more neutral perspectives about what actually happened from me and Jeb instead of people that actually had a rooting interest in the game with these guys going back and forth. It's actually been a good show tonight, guys.
Yeah, a lot of
Actually,
fun.
like is it usually not?
There's
Like he was
it usually
surprised.
doesn't exist.
That's true.
This is the first time back. This is the first Best of the West in like 2.5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though it says Beast of the East, but you get the skin because you won the game, Corey. And there was no Beast of the East last night.
That's right. So this is de facto Beast of the East.
Right. But it's technically Best of the West.
Yeah. That's right.
All right.
Well, Stacey, take us out of here, man.
All right, guys. Hey, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Had a lot of fun chatting up about the CFP National Championship game. Georgia is your 2022 national champions. Congratulations to the Bulldogs and Kirby Smart and to the Bulldog Nation. But I don't think the tide will be going away anytime soon with as long as Nick Saban's in Tuscaloosa. So it should be a lot of fun. The basketball season is going to be a lot of fun to look at unless you're a Georgia fan and Tom Crean's the coach. But, yeah, we're going to be here to talk everything West Division of the SEC. We'll even dabble into the East with our good friend Corey, and Stephen will be here along the way as well, producing for us. And we appreciate everybody in the chat tonight. Y'all make it a lot of fun to do these episodes. So we appreciate everybody. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, guys. Go Dogs.
Corey Bart.
Jake, this is for you.